Hi, my name's Callie Chappelle, and thanks for watching this video, Introduction to the DISAD, Part 3, regarding app answers. This video is just part of a series of videos I'm doing, which is part of the Go Fight Win Novice Debate series, educating novices about how to do policy debate. So my name is Callie Chappelle, and I'm a debater for the University of Michigan. In high school, I debated for Traverse City Central, and I'm a second negative, first affirmative speaker. Fun fact about me is that I love impact turning DAs in the 1AR. Alright, so how do you make the most out of these videos? You should do two things. First, take notes, and second, rewatch bits you need re-explained. Hopefully, we'll have worksheets and or supplemental materials that will go along with the video, so check those out in the video description. You don't need to memorize everything in the video, but what we want you to be is at least familiar with everything that we talk about. It's a building process. So after watching this video and you go into later videos and I talk about impact turning the DA and the 1AR, and you'll be like, oh, I totally remember what an impact turn is because I saw in this video. You may not be able to remember the third word on the fourth slide, but that's okay. As long as you get the big ideas, that's what we want. And finally, your coach may like things differently, and you may like to debate in a different style that I don't describe here. That's totally okay. I'm not saying that one form of debate is better or worse. What I'm saying is that I was trained in a particular way, and I just know that way better, so that's why I'm describing that to you. Alright, so Throwback Thursday. So this is part 3 of a 3-part series regarding DISAD. So part 1 was DISAD Basics. So we talked about the parts of the DISAD, the length, the impact, and the uniqueness, and we also revisited impact calculus. In the second part of the DA lecture, which we titled the DA in Debate, we talked about how to extend the DA and also how to kick out of the DA. If you have any questions about these topics, especially regarding kicking out of the DA, you should definitely go back and rewatch those videos. These concepts are very important to understanding what I'm going to talk about in this video, so it's really important that you have a strong understanding of previous material, because as I said, it builds on one another. Alright, so let's talk about quick vocab. Offense versus defense. So defense is the idea that the things that the app says aren't actually as bad as they say. And offense is the idea that the things the app says are bad, well, yeah, they actually cause those things to happen. So a good app will have both offense and defense in the 2AC, but will choose just one of those strategies, either offense or defense, to explain really well in the 1AR and 2AR. Alright, so here's our review. I'm not going to talk about all this in depth because you should have already seen this in part 1 of the DA lecture, but what I wanted to show you was this diagram, right? So app is good goes to app is nothing is considered impact defense, whereas going from app is good to app is bad is impact offense. Okay? So if you have any questions about that, go back and rewatch part 1, or go and go and rewatch the impact calc video, because I described this there as well. Alright. So, defensive arguments that the app can make. Well, because the parts of the DA are uniqueness, link, and impact, to decimate those parts, you simply have to refute each part. No uniqueness, no link, no impact. So what does a no uniqueness argument look like on the app? Well, essentially the app has to say the description of the status quo that the neg is giving is wrong. So, for example, with the spending DA, or actually let's talk about the NASA trade-off DA, alright? So the NASA trade-off DA says that currently the budget for the NOAA or NOAA is set right now, but the plan causes increased spending for NOAA, which trades off with funding for NASA, because NASA and NOAA are zero sum. So if you take money away from NOAA, then if you add money to NOAA, it takes away money from NASA. So if by doing the plan we take money away from NASA, it causes a decrease in funding for space exploration and specifically for the deflection of asteroids. So if we can't fund NASA, then we can't deflect asteroids, which means that if an asteroid comes to try to hit the Earth, then it would cause extinction. Okay? So using that example, let's talk about no uniqueness. So no, the description of the status quo is wrong. So instead of the budget being set, in that case with the NASA trade-off DA, the budget, you're saying that the budget is not set now or it can be changed. Alright? So no link. So that argument is the plan doesn't cause what you say to happen. Okay? So a no link argument in the context of the NASA trade-off DA is the plan doesn't trade off with NASA funding. Okay? So you could just say that it's not zero sum. If we decrease money to NOAA, that has no impact on funding for NASA. Alright? And then no impact. So that, the neg impact, doesn't lead to extinction, is the argument. So you could say that as an asteroid collision wouldn't lead to extinction. Example, subpoint A, the dinosaurs, right? Even though the dinosaurs went extinct, not everything else did, because that's why we're all here. So maybe humans wouldn't also go extinct, right? Okay, so those are the 3 parts. Pretty easy to understand. You just have to refute, using your line-by-line techniques, each part of the DA. Alright. But the second part that we talked about is offense, okay? So there are two main ways for the app to gain offense, using link turns or using impact turns. Just a disclaimer, this can be a little bit confusing, so feel free to ask questions in the comments and rewatch if you have to, and if things are still really unclear, I'm happy to make another video just detailing link turns and or impact turns, okay? So let's talk about impact turns. This one's a little bit easier to understand. So essentially, you're saying that the neg impact is actually good. So for example, if the neg impact is plan causes a short-term war with China, the app impact turn would be essentially that a short-term war with China is good instead of bad. Alright, so why would that be? Well, it's good that the plan causes a short-term war with China because then we, the United States, could easily beat them and decimate their military now, which stops a war with them later down the road, which would cause relatively more destruction. Okay, so why is this considered offense for the app? Well, essentially it makes a new app advantage for you, right? Because you just could see the DA, right? So like, we link to the DA, it causes this impact, but what you do is you turn their impact into an advantage for you. So we link to the DA, it causes something to happen, but you say it's bad, but we say it's actually awesome, which means that it's an advantage to the plan, okay? Alright, so let's talk about the link turn. So the link turn's a little bit more confusing. So I'm going to go a little bit slower and try to explain things a little bit more as I go. Alright, so link turn consists of two parts. So the impact turn was just one part, right? It was just like dealing with the impact. Well, the link turn deals with uniqueness and also the link, okay? So to have a link turn, you must have these two parts. First is no DA uniqueness, and the second is an argument that says that the link to the DA goes the other way. So here's an example with the spending DA, which actually here should be titled the NASA trade-off DA, okay? So the first is an argument that there's no uniqueness. So, like I said earlier, the no uniqueness argument with the NASA trade-off DA is the budget is not set right now, it can change, okay? So that makes sense, right? So the DSAT is non-unique. Great, and then the second part is that the link goes the other way. So the argument here would be inside of the plan. So let's talk about no link. So the no link argument and then the link to the DA goes the other way are two separate arguments. So the no link argument is that NOAA just doesn't trade off with NASA. They just are not, they're not related in any way. But the argument in a link turn is actually the opposite, okay? So instead of the plan trading off with NASA spending, it actually increases NASA funding by increasing the total budget for R&D. Or that was just a reason that I made up. But the big idea is instead of trading off, it actually increases NASA funding. So the DA says that the plan causes a decrease in NASA funding. The link turn says the plan actually causes an increase in NASA funding. So the link goes the other way, which is distinct from impact defense. Okay? So, why is it called a link turn? I know, right? If it's called a link turn, why do we have to say no uniqueness? So, let's think about this situation. What if we just said that the plan causes an increase in NASA funding? Okay, so the plan causes an increase in NASA funding, so that's the, like, link goes the other way part. But we can see uniqueness, the budget isn't going to change. Well, let's think about that. If the budget isn't going to change, how can the plan increase NASA funding, right? Because the plan's not going to increase NASA funding if the budget isn't changing. So what does this mean? This means that NASA funding can't increase if the budget is set. So it means the argument is essentially a no-link defensive argument and not an offensive argument. Because for it to be an offensive argument, it has to become an advantage to the plan, and it has to mean that the DA actually goes the other way, not just that nothing happens, okay? So defense means nothing happens, offense means that it actually becomes an advantage to the plan. So does that make sense? If this doesn't make sense to you, just kind of think about it, right? So if the budget isn't going to change, the plan causes an increase in NASA funding. So yeah, that's why. So if this still doesn't make sense to you, I can come up with some more examples about link turns. But I don't think I have enough time in this video for right now. So definitely have them in the comments. Okay. So final turn is a straight turn. Okay. So a straight turn is not distinct from a link or impact turn. It's just a way in which you deploy a link turn and an impact turn in a debate. Okay, so what is a straight turn? It's where you only make offensive arguments, no defensive arguments. So for example, if you only make a link turn, or you only make an impact turn, but you don't do both, okay? So in the 1AR, if all you extend is a link turn, then you straight turn the DA. If in the 2AC, you only extend an impact turn, then that's considered a straight turn. So you can straight turn in either the 2AC or the 1AR, or both. Right, so if you straight turn in 2AC, obviously you'll extend the straight turn to the 1AR. So if you do this, then what does this mean? Well, it actually forces the neg to explain and extend that argument in the to and are, regardless of whether they wanted to kick out of it or not. So why is it strategic? Why would you want a straight turn? Well, it's because you make the neg spend time explaining a not very good argument in the to and are because you straight turned it. So why would you want to have them talk about something that's really crappy in the to and are? Well, it's less time for them to talk about their better arguments, right? And also, it is a built-in net advantage to the plan. Why not get a free advantage by just reading a couple cards on a DA and explaining it better than the neg team, right? Why not do that? So we'll learn later why it forces the neg team to go for it, but the big thing you should take out of here is the straight turn is really awesome, and what it means is you just extend offensive arguments. So, what does a straight turn mean in the end, right? You solve the DA. If the AF can increase NASA funding, it means you can solve the impacts of the DA, which means the DA is another advantage of the plan. This is what I've been saying the entire time. Alright, so, just remember, here's a word to the wise. This is a funny meme that I thought was hilarious. So, link turn and impact turn, now we'll definitely win. Well, you can tell this guy's a novice, because if you link turn and you impact turn, then you just get back to square one. So, think about it this way. I know this is a lot of double negatives, but if you say the DA is good, but you don't solve the DA, then nothing happens, right? So think about a world where first you solve the link turn, right? So you're saying, yes, NASA funding is not going to change now, or NASA funding can change now, and the plan actually increases funding, which means that we solve for asteroids. Okay, so we solve an asteroid collision. However, you say an asteroid collision is good. Essentially, you canceled out the two arguments, right? So now you prevent an asteroid collision from happening, but if an asteroid did collide with the Earth, that would be a good thing, right? So now you're doing kind of the opposite of what you're looking for because you just canceled out those two things. So, big takeaway is that if you link turn, go for the link turn, and if you impact turn, go for the impact turn, but do not extend, and definitely do not read those two arguments at the same time, because it gets you absolutely nowhere. So it's funny, because if you read a link turn and impact turn, you will definitely not win, you will definitely win. So, I hope this video was helpful to you, and I know these concepts were a little bit confusing. They're confusing to everybody, so just keep looking over it until you understand. Talk to your varsity, talk to your coaches, add comments, and I'll see what I can do to help you out. So, good luck, and happy debating.